just about to go into our game number 2 here. And here we go, game number 2. We see MarinelorD playing as red. Juji's Legacy on the opposite side. We got Beasty in the color yellow playing as Jeanne d'Arc. This is Gorge. This is one of the new maps that we've got. It's sort of like a returning map because we've had this map in the last Red Bull tournament from Red Bull in Heidelberg and exclusively for that. And now we're actually getting it live on the ladder as well with the DLC release. That is absolutely amazing. And I'm very happy about seeing this map again. I think it's probably one of the best competitive maps out there. It is very, very aggressive. You got like all the resources, they're out to the sides. You have to move out of your base. You got to go up a hill. And yeah, it's just overall one of the best maps, 100%. And I'm very interested to see how these two players are going to be playing these civilizations because Beastie, I know how he feels about Jeanne d'Arc. He's been on the receiving end when it comes to this civilization a couple of times now. Jeanne d'Arc is not a civilization to be underestimated. You get this hero unit we see here, Jeanne d'Arc. She's starting off as a peasant. She's a little bit of a stronger villager, and she's gathering up experience. You see this little star coming up every now and then when she's gathering resources. She starts off as a peasant, but she's able to evolve as the game goes on. She's able to choose whether she wants to be a melee unit, a ranged unit. Later on, she gets a horse. Then later on, she gets a cannon. She's able to summon units. It's a whole thing. It's very cool. It's a very cool system. And there are various ways for Jeanne d'Arc to be gaining experience. So right now, as a peasant, she's gaining experience just passively by existing, half an XP per second, as well as gathering resources or building buildings. And later on, once she chooses her weapon of choice, she's able to get experience by hunting the spores or wolves out on the map. And that's how you get her up there, up to speed.
It's a really actually high if she does choose to go the archer or the hunter, I should say, pathway. It's really a good source of XP to get a lot of these Gaia animals that are outside. A wolf is going to give you 12. A boar is going to give you 50. And it's so nice for a civilization like a French variant to go for a boar quickly because food you're really going to need to pump out Royal Knights. I feel like this civilization does really well working with itself synergistically.
Exactly, and here we go. We see Jeanne building that school of cavalry. She also has increased building speed, so you can go up to the next age just with Jeanne d'Arc. You're going to have a competitive age up timing just with a single villager building that landmark. Behind that, though, we've talked a lot about Jeanne d'Arc now. Let's take a look at Juji's Legacy because they're also very unique. And here we go. It's going to be the Meditation Gardens. That's one of the completely new unique landmarks for Juji's Legacy. All of their landmarks are completely unique when you compare it to the normal Chinese faction, as well as their dynasty system. It's also completely different. So in the Tang dynasty that you start in, you're paying 15% less for your landmarks. That's why this late job is going to be a little bit quicker than you would usually get for the Chinese. And the Meditation Gardens is also a very unique landmark. So similarly to how the Monza Quarry functions, you gain resources passively after building it. However, the resources that you're getting depend on the resources that are nearby the landmark. So, for example, you got the stone outcropping there. For every stone outcropping or gold outcropping, you're going to be getting 30 resources. For every little berry bush nearby, you're going to be getting 8 resources of food. For every single tree, it's going to be 2 wood per minute that you're going to be gathering up. Yeah, we're going to be seeing just how much gathering is going to be done by that landmark. Also, corresponding out, there's an aura on that landmark. If your opponent has units nearby it, its income is going to get reduced by 10% for every enemy unit. So if you got like 10 units just standing nearby, the landmark isn't going to generate any resources.
Yeah, and I mean, it really coincides with a meditation, right? It disturbs the peace, having those enemies around that area. Now, Crackedy, I actually have a question for you that I'm not sure about. Do you know how many units need to be in the aura for it to completely shut off?
10. It's going to be 10% for every single unit in 9-tile range.
Okay, so 10 units, so for Zushi's Legacy, when you're going into a feudal age, he's actually going for Song Dynasty as well, going for the Jiangnan Tower. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. If we take a look at that tower, Core is going to hover over us for us. This tower acts as a tax drop-off for Imperial officials. You can also receive a free unit at the tower when a barracks, archer, ranger, stable is completed. You get a free villager whenever a town center is completed. So really heads up play for MarinelorD, putting this tower down and then putting down military buildings because they'll be able to get those free units out of them.
And now we see Jeanne d'Arc. She's going to be making her way out onto the field. She's going to be looking for those hunter builds that she's going for. And look at that. Jeanne d'Arc, Woman at Arms, has come in. So Beasty, he's decided to go for the melee path on her. And I think that's probably like one of the strongest paths for her because the civilization, Jeanne d'Arc, it's played similarly to the French. You want to get those knights out. What's the counter to knights? It's going to be spearmen. If your opponent gets spearmen out, though, this version of Jeanne d'Arc, she gets an AoE attack. She also has a lot of melee armor, so she's able to get in there in those military units and just do a little swing around, do a lot of damage to those spearmen. It's going to be 20 damage on a 1.25 tile radius. And she's able to single-handedly take down that boar and get that 50 experience for her. Beasty immediately also dropping a mill nearby, so he's gonna get a lot of food income from that boar right away.
Yeah, really heads-up play. By Beasty doing that. Again, using the boar for the food resources, and also to talk about Jeanne d'Arc's other abilities, not only with that AoE attack, like you said, and we saw the plus 50 go up against that boar. Really good kill for Jeanne d'Arc, going to be able to get some of that XP. Also, the ability to consecrate different military buildings or your town centers, operating at taking off 25% of the cost. And now MarinelorD has his barracks out, he has his stable out, so he did get free units out of them. He's looking to put the pressure a little bit on in Feudal Age, going to be pumping out spearmen as well.
Yeah, we also hovered above the meditation guns, so seeing that it's roughly 100 resource per minute that he's getting from that. Knight vs Horseman, it's not a fight that you want to take, but some of these units are free for MarinelorD. Has to be careful. Knight is going to be charging in. Is that going to be the first villager kill of the game? It looks like it is. First villager does go down to the Knight charge here. Now MarinelorD, he's going to be looking for a second TC play, pulling a lot of villagers over onto the stone outcropping here.
Yeah, and I'm thinking with the wood that he gathers as well, he might be thinking about a second town center. And we saw that Knight take down that one Zushi legacy villager. It's just, I mean, even though this is a variant of French, still the French. You're going to see Royal Knights. You're going to see them try to get an eco advantage in that particular regard. But also, this is the little bit of a difference. It looks like there's a smattering of Rus going to be played here with a couple wolves going down.
Yeah, it definitely feels a little bit like Rus. And now second TC is going to be coming out for MarinelorD. He's going to be able to expand his economy a little bit to that western side on the map. Now, Core hovered over it earlier, like the walls that we saw there. This is also a unique behavior of the new walls that we have in the game. You're actually able to wall to other resources, like the stone outcropping here, and you see these little like spines coming out of that wall connecting to it. So this completely blocks the pathing of that of units trying to access those villagers, which is very, very cool behavior. Now we see Beasty. He's able to kill a lot of these huntables out of the map. It's going to be a lot of experience for Jeanne d'Arc now. If she's able to get to her level 3 form in the Feudal Age, it's going to be very dangerous for MarinelorD, because that's when she can actually summon Men-at-Arms in the Feudal Age, and they're going to be having Castle Age stats, so it's a lot of defense. They also get bonus damage versus Spearmen, which is very interesting, because Spearmen is like the counter to the Royal Knights. That's the unit that you want to get out as Civilization. It's playing against the French, or rather against Jeanne d'Arc, and yeah, it's going to be very difficult dealing with those units while you're still in the Feudal Age.
Yeah, and that's the synergy that Jeanne d'Arc is really good at. So not only do you get those champions that help you against Spearmen, but Jeanne d'Arc is in the front of that battle and can use some of that AoE also. So being able to take down Spearmen as soon as they get into the battle, they're going to be falling to the ground. And MarinelorD is continuing on the Spearman route. He's already got 10, and he's got another one in queue.
Lots of Spearmen out on the field. Beasty also transitioning into Archers, so he's going to have the response to that. MarinelorD at one point, he's going to have to go into Jugunu, and the archery range has already been dropped. He's going to be able to make his own Jugunu now. These Jugunu, ideally what you want to do is before a fight breaks out, or rather at the beginning of a fight, you want to immediately focus down Jeanne d'Arc with your range units, because then she isn't going to be gathering any experience from the fight. The thing is, these kind of like drawn out fights, as every time a unit goes down, Jeanne d'Arc is nearby, she's going to be getting experience, and you want to deny that.
Yeah, and I think having that kind of range mass, like you said, Crackedy, is a really good idea. With the Zugnu, even though Jeanne d'Arc does have a little bit of that ranged armor just because she went for the woman-at-arms instead of the hunter, Zugnu, they still, I mean, they operate like the Zugnu we all know. You see 2 ranged armor on the woman-at-arms. But Zugnu, if you get a good mass of them, you might be able to take it down. At 225 health, though, I don't think 4 is going to cut it just yet.
I think that unit that just went down wasn't in range for Jeanne d'Arc to get experience. At least I didn't see a star above her head or above the unit. So don't think she got experience there. Beasty is going to be running around the base now from MarinelorD, but MarinelorD, he's walled the top half of the map there. He's going to be safe around that side, but Beasty, he's still massing up a dangerous amount of knights and archers now.
It looks like he's trying to maybe take down a villager, trying to get some sort of economic damage to MarinelorD, but that second town center continuing to be safe, and we all know from 2 town centers, the longer you have it, the more it's going to pay off. MarinelorD trying to raid on the backside, something that watching these top tier players, or arguably the top tier players, being able to raid while defending back home, having those extra units, it's so powerful. It keeps your mind at 2 different places at once. Beasty trying to find an area to go around. It looks like he's trying to get toward this north side where that gold mine is for MarinelorD. Outpost is already there. He's getting hand cannon slits on that outpost, so those knights, even though they have a lot of armor, those hand cannon slits just cut through that armor.
Yeah, and that's very, very important here. The stone that he needed for that emplacement, he got all of that from the landmark passively, from the meditation garden. So that's another point where this landmark just provides a lot of value, being able to get those emplacements for pretty much free. But it looks like Beasty, he still wants to put pressure on that outpost, on that gold. Couple shots though coming out from that tower, taking down some archers here. Consecrate hasn't been used yet by Beasty. Really needs to put that to use. He can consecrate his buildings, so he only pays 25% less food. Actually, he consecrates his TC first, so his villagers for now, they're going to be cheaper.
Yeah, just for reference for everybody. Oh, as we see a big fight coming in here, Royal Knights trying to get in on some of those horsemen. There are a lot of spears for MarinelorD right now. There's about 15 spears, a lot of reinforcements from Beasty on the western side. He's trying to come back. He does have Jeanne d'Arc with him, so might be able to help. He might be able to get some of that passive restoration, that extra heal as this battle comes in. Looks like the AoE attack comes in. Did do a little bit of damage to Spearman, a horseman. 1 horseman went down. What's really nice about those charges, she has all of them stockpiled, or she had all of them stockpiled before she used that one. It only takes a couple seconds for that cooldown. You can just keep using them over and over again, and I think that's what Beasty's trying to do when he wants to take that climactic fight.
And Beasty right now, he's just storing up those experience points. As soon as he's able to get Jeanne d'Arc to the next level, that's when it starts becoming very, very difficult for MarinelorD to really react to these, or rather be able to hold against the aggression coming out from the Jeanne d'Arc faction. And behind that now, MarinelorD, he's in the Song Dynasty. We haven't talked about yet, Song Dynasty for the Zhuji's Legacy. It's a very strong economic bonus. You pay 40% less wood on all of your non-military buildings. So we see in the back of the MarinelorD base, he's going for a full granary transition now. And he's able to facilitate with his farms only costing 45 wood each.
Yeah, and I think Beasty has a good opportunity to be offensive at that particular point. Yeah, it's going to soften the blow a little bit to try to get a farm transition, but it's still a farm transition nonetheless. Spearman trying to make a front line. Jeanne d'Arc went for another AoE. It looks like there was a backup by MarinelorD. Excellent micro from him. He knows that there is some kind of AoE damage, so he was able to back up a little bit. Now Beasty has to retreat. Looks like more losses on his side as well for destructed value. It looks like Beasty has more of it.
Yeah, this is really difficult right now, though, for MarinelorD. We look at the army value at the moment, and Beasty, his army value is just much, much higher than MarinelorD's right now, and I feel like Beasty, he's probably not too far off of getting that level 3 upgrade on Jeanne d'Arc. And we saw it earlier, MarinelorD was very close to killing Jeanne d'Arc there, and that is what he needs to do. Before the fight really starts to happen, he needs to kill Jeanne d'Arc. If Jeanne d'Arc is alive during the fight, it's going to be a lot of experience gained for her, and if she reaches that level 3, we talked about it, she's going to be able to summon Castle Age units. That's the dangerous part. You don't want to get into that stage in Feudal Age.
Yeah, I mean, based on MarinelorD's army composition and what units are available to him right now, it's going to be difficult for them to do. Jeanne d'Arc does hit level 3 cores. Circling it, Jeanne d'Arc is a knight now. Just a few minutes ago, we saw her as a peasant. And here she is as a knight with Jeanne's champions coming out, 175 health. Decent amount of damage, decent amount of ranged armor too. There's 6 total ranged armor on those bad boys, and they do get buffed when they're around Jeanne d'Arc. Now Beasty confident enough to take this fight. Knights making out the front line here. Jeanne d'Arc did pull off the heal, so a lot of those knights were able to heal a decent percentage, and it just means they're able to take these spearmen. We had archers in the back taking down a lot of spearmen as well. There weren't many knights that went down in this process. You can see military count on the top part of your screen as those knights are ravaging through this Chinese province. Military count 44 to 20. He's going to be able to get back to those Zugnu. Those knights are not going to be able to go down just because of how many Zugnu are there. Military count continuing to plummet. We're down to 5. An AoE attack taking down 7 Zugnu at once. That was a Jeanne d'Arc cleanup, Crackedy.
A Jeanne d'Arc cleanup, indeed, and she has so much armor now. In her level 3 form, it is very, very difficult. The Zugnu, they can't really do that much damage to her. Also, 450 health. She is a tank in this form, and now the villagers from MarinelorD, they're exposed. Beasty behind all of this, also making a ram, and right now the villagers, they have nowhere to run. Sure, you get the villages as Zhuxi's Legacy, as the Chinese variant faction, but it doesn't help if all of your villagers are going to be on the run, and villager after villager gets picked off here by these knights.
Yeah, take a look at what Jeanne d'Arc did. She went in the middle of where that villager mass was and just popped her AoE. And you saw all of those villagers end up taking a decent amount of health, so they're able to be picked off by things like archers. Jeanne d'Arc, though, getting a little weak. She's at 6 health. She's at 1 health. She's gone. I think, is that GG? Do we just call it?
Usually if you're the Mongols, it's GG, but for Beasty, it's only 500 gold, or rather, well, not only, it is 500 gold, and he can instantly revive her. For now, doesn't choose to do so. MarinelorD, he's still... I want to say he still has a fighting chance in this one. Sure, it's a lot of villager idle time. A lot of villager idle time. But he still has 12 villager lead, and he has some defense around with the outpost that he was able to upgrade thanks to that meditation garden. So I don't think it's over yet. He still has access to his farms, so that's not completely denied right now. It's a lot of rams, though, coming out, and MarinelorD, it's going to take him a while to be able to mass up an army again.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, he's gonna, all the way back in his base, he's got to kind of lick his wounds. And you got to remember, while that battle was going on, he was in the midst of a granary transition. I mean, some of it was completed. There are some farms in the back, as you see Jeanne d'Arc. I guess Jeanne d'Arc the second, we'll say, as the second one will be coming out. But she is a knight still, and we'll try to get some of those charges quickly before battle's going underway. But Beasty's smelling blood in the water. He knows it's going to take a little bit of time for MarinelorD to get any kind of army. He only has a military count of 13, most of them being Zugnu. It's about 5 knights here. I want to say that 5 knights is enough. You could see +8 going off on those spearmen. Only those 2 +8s is what we are going to see. MarinelorD says, I'm out of this. I don't want to deal with Jeanne d'Arc anymore.
And the Jeanne d'Arc looking very, very powerful right now if played like this. And yeah, MarinelorD with that second TC, I talked about it recently. I think that the 2 TC play, or rather in many situations or against a lot of civilizations, the 2 TC meta is dead.